present and future of education in India is not merely the subject of my present responsibilities, but of course it's a national cause that's dear to my heart, and I'm sure to those of everybody in this room. It's certainly a matter of critical importance if we are to fulfill our potential in the 21st century. And in the 21st century, ensuring access to high-quality education at all levels has emerged as clearly one of, if not the biggest priority for India. The Indian economy is also a key factor. It's already the 10th largest economy in the world by nominal GDP, and having overtaken Japan, we're also the third largest economy by purchasing power parity. As India prepares to build on the growth story that began with the reforms of 1991, it's imperative to understand the challenges faced by the country in education, the reforms undertaken by the UPA government to address these challenges, and the foundations that we're laying for a brighter future. Now, there are several ways to articulate the challenges faced by the education sector in India, and I suspect some here have heard me on various occasions in various ways trying to present this issue. However, a lot of our concerns are universal concerns faced by societies across the world. How do we create and sustain full literacy in all age groups? How do we get young children into schools? How do we keep them there? How do we expand opportunities for secondary and higher education? And how do we foster a culture of excellence in teaching and research? But irrespective of how you define the challenges, our objectives are undisputed. Making the most of our demographic dividend, the universalization of education, and achieving the 4 A's of education, not just expansion, equity, and excellence, which Professor Mattu has mentioned and the Planning Commission has written about, but a fourth that I've added to this catechism, employability. Now, recognizing the importance of school education, one of the landmark initiatives of the UPA government was the passage of the Right to Education Act, the famous RTE, with a mandate to provide free and compulsory education to all children in India between the ages of 6 and 14. We really aim to leave no child behind. The RTE is also a great leveler, brushing aside social discrimination and allowing the different strata of our society to merge into a more harmonious whole. To ensure the comprehensive nourishment of young minds and retain attendance at the primary level, we've also taken some significant steps. It's one thing to enroll the kids, but how do you keep them there? You know, right now, I don't know if you follow all these GER figures, but the gross enrollment ratio at primary school in India today is 116%. We've actually enrolled more kids than we thought existed at that age group, partly because some who missed the bus earlier have taken advantage of RTE to enroll in school. And then there are things to keep them there. The midday meal scheme, which it's been fashionable to deride it in some quarters, has been a powerful incentive for poor families to know that their children will get a hot cooked meal in the middle of the day if they send them to school and let them stay there, and they won't have to have those mouths to feed is a very powerful incentive. The government has allocated 9,890 crore rupees in the last fiscal year for this, a jump of 7.5 times of the last allocation of the previous NDA government. Now, beyond the basics of education, of learning, the capacity of innovation is extremely important. I'm told by Governor Kohli he'll be talking about out-of-the-box thinking, and I'm all in favor. I'm sorry I won't be able to stay to listen to him. But it's essential for students to be prepared for the increasingly complex life and work environments in today's world. The Central Board of Secondary Education has, in the past couple of years, been piloting its initiatives on promoting creativity and innovation through project work and interactive teaching. Emerging from the trend of open educational resources, and similar to the increasingly popular trend of MOOCs, the massive online open courses, the Government of India launched a national mission on education through ICT, in which all services for all students are available for free on the content portal Sakshat. And it was only last year that we launched the National Repository of Open Education Resources, also all free resources. So the RT, as I said, has enrolled an awful lot of kids, but this is where the bad news sets in, because we keep them in school at the primary level to a great extent, but by class 8, the gross enrollment ratio drops to 69%. By class 10, 11, it's 39%. And by college, just about 18 point something percent. The numbers are going up every year, but we are well below the global average on every of those categories. So clearly, our students, and I refer particularly to the poorer rural students, are facing issues in continuing their education beyond the primary level. Of course, there are various reasons: helping the family in income-generating activities, taking care of younger siblings. This keeps a lot of girls out of school beyond a certain age, assisting the family in household chores, higher opportunity costs, social and cultural pressures, again particularly affecting girls and certain communities, and even lack of interest in education at some level. Now, in order to provide a boost to the GER at secondary level, the Indian government launched the Rashtriya Madhyamik Shiksha Abhiyan, or RMSA scheme, in March 2009, the objective of which was to achieve a GER of 75% in secondary education within 5 years, while aiming at universal access to secondary level education by 2017 and universal retention by 2020. RMSA aims to universalize secondary school education in the 15-16 age group by insisting on providing a secondary school within 5 kilometers and a higher secondary school within 7 kilometers of all habitations. So strengthen the existing secondary schools, open new schools. We're planning to open a little over 11,000 secondary schools in the country, mostly by upgrading primary schools, appoint a couple of 100,000, a couple of lakh additional teachers, 1.79 is what we budgeted for, and construct some 80,000 plus additional classrooms. So it's a huge task for which the resources have been found. Now, our challenges, however, are not limited to school education. Indeed, the remarks of Professor Math were almost entirely about higher education. Now, at the time of independence, we had a literacy rate of about 17%, perhaps slightly less, because the first number we have is the census of 51, and we did improve a bit in 4 years. So 17% or thereabouts, barely 26 universities, under 700 colleges, with an enrollment in the entire country of just 4 lakh students in higher education, 400,000 students in the entire country of India. In 6 decades and a bit, we have massively expanded the reach of higher education in the country. We have, of course, now 74% literacy instead of 17. We have, from 4 lakh students, we have 20 million students, or 2 crore, studying in around 660 universities and in more than 35,000 colleges. So that's the difference from 26 universities to 660, from 700 or 600 and something colleges to 35,000. The Indian higher education system is today the world's largest in the terms of number of institutions, and in terms of enrollment, number of students, we've overtaken the US and have the second largest after China in terms of the absolute number of students in higher education. We're growing rapidly, and our gross enrollment ratio, as I said, has come close to 19% in 2013, but this is still far short of the global average of 29%. And as one who's been minister for just 17 months, let me say I agree with my good friend Amitabh Mattu that our higher education system is over-regulated and under-governed. But 17 months is a short time for a magic wand, I'm sorry to tell you, in our system. Now, during its term, the UPA government has nearly doubled the number of IITs and IIMs. For the non-Indians in the audience, the Indian Institutes of Technology and the Indian Institutes of Management, which have been the flagship public sector institutions in these fields. We've added 30 new central universities, 1,500 industrial training institutes, and are building 6 new All India Institutes of Medical Sciences. But far from resting on our laurels of expanding education, we have introduced the Rashtriya Uchatar Shiksha Abhiyan, the RUSA scheme. And I think Amitabh has been a little unfair to it. First of all, it's very fledgling. It's barely been in existence a few months. But the problem is, you see, because education is a federal subject, in other words, it appears both on the state list and on the union government list in the Constitution, and the concurrent list. We have in higher education tended to focus on a handful of central universities, leaving the bulk of Indian students stuck in state universities, which are financed, supported, and run by state governments. We finally realized, and with the Planning Commission's blessing, decided that we cannot let this happen. The majority of our students are getting a second-rate education in the bulk of these state universities. If we can pump resources into the universities in the states, we felt we can significantly improve quality. So RUSA has just come into being. It's going to create and aims to create 278 new universities, 388 new colleges, and the idea is also to expand the opportunities for higher education available to young people across the country and help us, of course, also to raise the overall enrollment levels, the GER, to closer to 30% by 2020.